All right, let's see here. Where did OBS go? Let's start resizing some of these. There it is. All right, looks like got sound there. We're showing good there. Showing good there. All right. Good morning. Let me get something else going here for this. All right. Good morning. Welcome to anybody that might be new. If you do happen to be new, my name is Tim. I go by FoamyGuy on GitHub and Discord. I typically work on CircuitPython related stuff on this stream at this time every week, Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time. Hold on 1 second here. Let me get this out of my pocket. Let's do. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, you can learn more about it at the website right here, CircuitPython.org. This is basically a version of Python that can run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. You will plug these devices typically into your computer with like a USB cable. They show up like a thumb drive. You can edit a Python code file on that thumb drive, and then when you save it, the computer that's on these little chips will actually read that code file, interpret it, and execute the Python code inside of it. These microcontrollers typically have all sorts of connectors in order to connect other electronic devices like sensors, buttons, beepers, buzzers, lights, all kinds of things, screens, touch sensors, really pretty much any kind of electronic little doodad that you can imagine, you can connect to these microcontrollers, at least some of them. They come in all different shapes and sizes, as you can see here, so there are like kind of all different feature sets and things. Certain ones are better for certain things, certain ones are made for specific things, certain ones are very generic, so it's kind of like a mixed bag of all kinds of little devices that you can do whatever you want with, essentially. So there are 495 boards that support CircuitPython right now. They're all listed here on the downloads page. You can learn more at CircuitPython.org, and then if you want to get yourself a microcontroller, you can head over to Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. You can purchase microcontrollers from other places as well, but what makes Adafruit special is they're the ones who are financially backing CircuitPython by paying the folks who work on the project. There's a team of developers that work on CircuitPython full-time that are paid by Adafruit to do so. There are other people like me that are paid part-time to work on the project and surrounding infrastructure and guides and documentation and management of repositories and all kinds of things. So huge thanks to Adafruit for doing that. And then if you want to help support this whole project, this whole thing, you can do so just by purchasing hardware from them over at adafruit.com. Like I think mentioned a moment ago, they have the microcontrollers themselves, and they also have all sorts of other little widgets and doodads that you can connect up with your microcontrollers to do different things with. How's it going, C. Grover? Got the coffee right here for me today. Saturday morning cartoons. Maybe I should have had a name for my stream with cartoons in it. I don't know, I guess Saturday morning's cartoons is taken. I don't really do any cartoon work either, so I guess it does not really make any sense, but we run it, Saturday morning 10 a.m., which is kind of a cartoonish time. We could work it in somehow. All right, we are picking up basically right where I left off last night, which was with this logging PR. As a real brief, quick introduction for anybody who didn't catch yesterday or just doesn't know, the logging library is modeled after the CPython logging library, and this allows you to print out log messages based on levels like debug, info, warning, critical, or whatever. I don't know all the levels. In fact, I could We can make sure this is working, and I could scroll up to here. In fact, where Bear very kindly shared the levels with us last night. Debug. So not set, debug, info, warn, error, and critical are the different levels. And you can set your logger up to say, like, I only want to see messages that are above, a certain level of importance. And then in your code, whenever you're writing these log statements, you can kind of decide for each place, like, is this just an info log, or is this like a warning, or is it, a critical error, like there's a bug in the code, some kind of thing that should never happen. Is that where that's at? All right. And then based on what level you send that message with, it will use those filters to determine whether or not it's going to show you that log message in any particular place. There's a bunch of different handlers that you can use that cause those messages to go to different places, such as just the print output, like the serial console is one of them, the stream handler. Another one, which we are looking at more so with this PR, is the file handler, which will take those same log messages and spit them into a file, like just a text file, essentially. And then what this PR does is it updates the file handler to have two new kind of arguments or properties here, which are log file size limit and old file postfix. And these allow you to manage some behavior around, rotating your log files, basically. So without this logic, if you just take the library as it's released today and you use the file handler and you put it in some project and it's got a bunch of log statements and you just, leave it on a shelf or wherever and let it run for a couple of months or whatever, it's just going to be writing into that file over and over and building up size. If you have a huge SD card or something, then it's going to take a very long time to fill up, depending on how much you're logging and what kind of data you're logging. Text is not very large, and SD cards these days tend to be pretty, large. Like, it's very cheap to get a 32 gigabyte SD card or higher. So if you have one of those big SD cards, it's probably not something you need to worry about very frequently if you're not doing anything else with it, right? If it's otherwise empty, then you're going to be able to write to that file for a long time. What this is going to do, though, is it's going to give you the ability to actually rotate that log file. So you're going to be able to say, like, I would like to only keep, let's say, 1 gigabyte of log file, essentially, or whatever size limit you want. That could be 1 kilobyte, that could be 10 megabytes, that could be whatever you want. You set that limit right there, and then the new behavior inside this file handler will make it so that it will write up in that file until it reaches that limit. Once it reaches that limit, it will rename the current file with the old file postfix in its name. So, like, you can, tack on an underscore old or whatever, which is definitely something I do all the time. And then it will start you a new file to start putting the rest of your log messages in. So, if you set it to 10 megs, it's going to write until it gets to 10 megs in that file. Then it's going to rename that file to have underscore old in it, and it's going to start a new one. That new one, whenever it gets filled up to 10 megs, it's going to overtake the other old one. It's going to become the old one, and then it basically just rotates like that, always building up to the limit and then renaming itself to the old and starting a new file. One thing that I was thinking about, which would be cool maybe to add further down the line, would be maybe one more argument that says, like, how many old files are we allowed to keep? Like, maybe you want to put your limit at 10 megs, but maybe you want to keep 5 old files instead of only 1 or something. You could just set it to 50 megs, I guess, and ultimately it's kind of the same in some ways, but the idea would be, like, if you wanted to keep your log files smaller, just so that they're easier to open inside of text editors and stuff. Some text editors kind of freak out on you if you open files that are too big. Anyway, hopefully that sets the stage. If anyone does have questions or anything further, definitely feel free to shout on one of the chats. But with that, I will get into PyCharm. We can take this window, device workspace. We can go ahead and get logging as well. Well, maybe we can. After we wait for file system synchronization for detected file changes. Weird. I don't know what they would be. Quickly open file, press Control-Shift-N, which is navigate/file. Start typing its name. Control-Shift-N? I thought that was just double tap Shift. Is that different? Navigate to a file. Control-Shift-N? Options.py. I think it hasn't loaded the cache yet. It's got to do all this stuff down here. Anyway, that's something to play with later, I guess. All right, we don't really need these things. If you're keen-eyed, you might have spied a certain form of my web workflow password, so don't tell anybody. So I'll be changing it at some point here because I've done a lot of work on web workflow lately. I'm just going to plug back in. I don't have the camera set up just yet. It's here. It's mounted up. I could turn it on, get it started. But right now, there's really not going to be anything to see. But I do just have the Memento camera because it's convenient. Oh, yeah. Let me, this is probably what's making, this is what's making PyCharm take forever, actually. I have another, okay, let's close this. I have another SD card plugged in. I flashed a Raspberry Pi OS. Well, I actually flashed, yeah, an Ubuntu OS for the Raspberry Pi onto an SD card yesterday. Because I was going to try out Ubuntu on the Raspberry Pi for something, but I didn't actually end up getting around to doing it because I ended up making what I was trying to do work in Raspberry Pi OS, the Raspbian one. But I never unplugged the SD card. And the thing about that is, because of the way that I have my PyCharm set up, it kind of watches any removable storage. It watches /media/timc, so it sees any removable storage just like show up there, and then it instantly starts trying to catalog the stuff on there, which like is usually CircuitPython derives, right, which are relatively small, so it catalogs them pretty quickly. But that Raspberry Pi image is a bit bigger and just probably has a million small files all scattered about. Okay, so yesterday we tested kind of like just, you know, backwards compatibility. We made sure that the old examples still work fine. The simple test, which was just outputting to the stream handler, you know, the serial console. Good morning, DJ Devin, and howdy to Axel Magnus. Nice to see both of you, my friends. So we tested the old examples yesterday. We tested the file handler example as well. That's the last thing we did right here, which is still loaded up in code. But what we did not do is actually kind of test the new functionality, right? We just made sure the old file handler example works. What we need to do now is actually go and add the new functionality. And one thing I would say is it's more typical to see lowercase. It's more typical to see lowercase names. I'm surprised, actually, is there a Pylint disable somewhere? I'm surprised Pylint. I wonder what's deprecated. Okay, one thing we'll do maybe is try to clean this up a little bit, potentially. Consider using, but that was already there, I guess. Yeah, and in fact, this is one of the cases where we can't really use with, because we need to open the file in one function and keep it open so that another function will be able to write to it, which doesn't really work with. Yeah, I don't, is this, what did it pass? It is passing the actions? Pylint in black? We should try to find what's deprecated and do something better than ignoring it if we can. Okay. Is that part of the new code? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, basically all this stuff is new. So we used to, inside of a init, we used to what? We used to just call super init and then pass in open, the file name, and the mode. And that was it. But now we save it. We still call open. We still pass in what I'm assuming is ultimately still the file name, although it's like now in this underscore property, we pass in mode. Same thing here. This is now in this underscore property. I'm just going to take a quick scroll. Make sure my assumptions are correct here. Yeah, so file name turns into log file name. Write mode turns into mode. I think aside from not necessarily, I don't think these should be capitalized necessarily, just because it's inconsistent. The truth is I don't really care about lowercase or capital case, but I don't, it's weird to have mixed, right? So I don't think it should be some things capital, some things lower. Does the, I don't know, does the, there is a, like a style guide or something, right? Does that say anything about that? Design guide? Capital? Capital? Or argument name, maybe? Argument? Got anything for name? Name? Module naming? 22 matches on name. Let me... Parameters. Note that technical... Okay, yeah, that's something else. CPython name. Designed for compatibility with CPython. Okay, that's one thing to check, actually. Does CPython have this? And if so, does this work the same way? CPython logging file handler rotation. Log rotation, file rotation, logging handlers. Watched file handler, my log formatter. What? Don't use logging.basicconfig. Use watched file handler. Ah, okay. One thing is maybe we should have that be a subclass, right? So this code currently just adds this functionality to file handler. This is the wrong one. Yeah, so we have file handler, which extends stream handler. And then we're just adding all this functionality. Now it is, you know, optional, right? Because you can just have none, in which case you get the same behavior as before, seemingly. That's what we saw yesterday. Okay, calculating kind of the old file name based on the extension, or not the extension rather, but the postfix. What does watched file handler mean? I shouldn't have skipped over the docs. Sometimes I find the actual real Python docs a little bit difficult to find parts I'm looking for and just difficult to parse at times. But let's see, this is actually looking pretty good. Yeah, watches. If the file changes, Closed and reopen using the file name. Okay. So this is a way to achieve it if you're not on Windows, but the thing is the API here in CPython is washing its hands of the actual rotation. There's a base rotating handler though, and a rotating file handler. Okay, I think I'm in favor of actually doing this, right? Instead of adding all this stuff to the already existing file handler, which does exist in CPython and does not have this functionality. Let's verify that. Yeah, does not have this functionality, but there is rotating, which it looks like might be the same. This takes max bytes, takes backup count. That's interesting. That sounds like maybe the number of files like I was talking about before. Turns a new instance of the rotating, specified file is opened and used as the stream for logging. If mode is not specified, A is used. If encoding is not none, that encoding is used when it's open the file. If delay is true, I don't think we have delay. Opening is deferred until the first call of emit. Interesting. That's kind of nice, I guess. By default, the file grows. Okay, here we go. By default, the file... Wait, no, that's actually... But this is the rotating one. By default, the file grows indefinitely. If errors are provided, it determines how encoding errors are handled. You can use max bytes and backup count to allow the file to roll over at a predetermined size. When the size is about to be exceeded, the file is closed and a new file silently opened, opposed to very loudly opened. For output, rollover occurs when the current log file is nearly max bytes in length, but if either max bytes or backup count is 0, then rollover never occurs. You generally want to set backup count to at least 1 and have a non-zero max bytes. When backup count is non-zero, the system will save old log files by appending the extensions .1, .2, etc. to the file name. For example, with backup count of 5, this is the feature I was talking about before, in fact. With a base file name of app.log, you would get app.log, app.log1, .log2, .log3. The file being written to when you log is always app.log. When that's filled, based on max bytes, it gets closed, and then it renames, in this case, to .1. Gets renamed to applog.1, and if files app.log.1, .log.2, etc., then they are renamed respectively. Okay, so we're going to rename the base one to .1, but if .1 exists before we do that, we're going to rename to .2, and if .2 exists, we're going to rename it to .3. So basically, we're shifting everybody down, and then .5, or whatever the backup count is, the last one gets pushed off the back of the queue. Okay, I'm in favor of reusing this API, even if we don't implement backup count yet, which this PR currently does not have that functionality. And I think that part is fine, actually, to leave that functionality out because it can always be added. But I do think we should create this as a class. We should create rotating file handler, and it should copy the names of this stuff. Max bytes should be the name of that argument. If and when we add backup count, that should be the name of that argument. It doesn't have the postfix. And there's a timed one. So I'm assuming that's a similar concept, but not based on the size of the file and instead based on time. So you could set it to like roll over after an hour or something. Okay, so one open question I would say is, if we do it the way I'm proposing and create rotating file handler without backup count, let's say, to keep it as simple as possible to start, do we want to deviate from the CPython API to have old file postfix? I think, like, my gut instinct honestly is no. I think it's personally, I think it's actually kind of cool functionality, but I think the way that this functionality ultimately should get added, if we want it, would actually be like another subclass of rotating file handler. So like we would make rotating file handler, it would represent a strict subset of CPython rotating file handler. So it will only have, you know, the same arguments that this does. It doesn't have to have them all. So we don't have to add delay yet or encoding or errors, which I don't think we have in the CircuitPython library at all, but I'm not sure. We would have max bytes as the name. Like we would match the names for all of these, and then we would also not have any ones that aren't in this list. We would be a strict subset with rotating file handler, and then someone could come along and also do another subclass of rotating file handler that could be like named rotating file handler or custom name rotating file handler or whatever, something that's kind of like one more level deeper. It can now have that argument old file postfix, and then it can have changed behavior for, you know, renaming the files when it does. Make sure I got this spelled right. And have it, let's say, be a strict subset of the CPython API functionality. Oh. It doesn't break CPython compatibility. Okay, so move that to rotating. Okay, yeah, move that to rotating. That would be a subclass of file handler. We would change the name of that argument to max bytes. If we wanted to keep the custom name, that would go into a different subclass. And there is do rollover. Did we take that name? Rotate if needed. Yeah, I think it's a rollover as described above. So it's unclear, like, what is a rollover? Is a rollover checking the size and then creating the new file as needed? Or is a rollover creating the new file, you know, hard cut? Like, does do rollover check the file size too? Or does somewhere else check the file size and then call do rollover? That part I don't know. Can't tell from this doc, it doesn't seem. We'd have to like try to create one of these things in CPython and call do rollover. Okay, and I think I'm actually going to hold off on testing the new functionality. Like, we could test it right now, but the thing is, if this gets refactored into rotating file handler, then like we'll want to test it again. So it's like ultimately, I think it makes sense to just wait and test once it is refactored. Like, we did do the sanity check on the old examples is good, because I think, you know, trying not to break backwards stuff is always important, I think. But in other words, it chunk writes and it checks at that point, optionally replacing the file instead of the new archive. How's it going, Tithe? Oh, sorry. I have my Twitch covered up over there. This rot log. Yep, log rotations. well, okay. Caveat being, I don't know if rotlog, if that's a specific thing. I'm not necessarily saying this matches that exact thing, but this is that concept for sure. I like cake. Nice name. Hey, why are we scrolled so far down here? What's that up about? That's kind of weird, isn't it? Usually this comes from here. Because I was scrolled down, I guess. Weird. These are like leaking out of the bottom too. Look at that. Too tired brain this morning, need more coffee? All right, cool. Okay, next thing I want to look into or work on, I should say, is in Circup. I have this branch called local install. I think I pushed. Yeah, I definitely pushed because I linked it to Toddbot, which is who had the idea for this ultimately. Let's go. Guy, Circup. I had there was an option for rolled over count, which has the number of X bytes files to keep. There definitely is, no, in Python there is that option. In the rotating file handler, there is that option with backup count, which I don't necessarily like the name so much. I guess they are backups, I suppose, but it's just like file count more than anything. I don't necessarily know about the name, but we should match it if it exists. But yeah, that does exist. And it would be nice to have that in CircuitPython too, but I also think it would be nice to have even half the functionality, right? So in my mind, if someone comes along and implements half of the functionality, but just without that backup count, and you're just like hard-coded to a backup count of 1, basically, then that's still worth it in my mind, right? Like that's still worth merging, in my opinion. Later on, we could still come and add that backup count down the line. Like as long as we follow the API, it makes it so we can do that subset. We can have only some part of the functionality, and then later on add the rest if we want, or later on, not add the rest, and that can be a deviation. But it's like backup count. Yep, exactly right. Yep. Okay, so what this branch of Circup is for is being able to install libraries instead of from the bundle, from a local file or folder. Where on earth would I have been when I was testing this? So I was using... a project that Toddbot had linked me to. See if I catch any inspiration here. That's it. That's right there. It's this one. Pico's test synth, and then in here, and I think these are like libraries, pretty much. No, these are code files, but there's a lib. These are libraries. Okay, here we go. Okay. So these libraries are CircuitPython libraries. They are on GitHub, but they are not in the bundle. And this new feature in Circup, this new functionality in Circup would allow us to install these local folders to our device without them being in the bundle. We can just point to them on the drive and it will install them for us, is the idea. I'm going to open the terminal here, and I want to get into the virtual environment that Circup is in. Right now, I'm set to other vm inside of Circup. So we're going to go source. We need to go, I'm just going to do home, repos, CircuitPython, Circup, other, bin, activate, Circup, version. I just want to like validate that we're actually having the code here installed. So I'm going to go to commands. Let's go to main and add like a high level print. Or a, what do they call that? It's like a click.echo. Yeah, there we go. Click.echo. Hello? Ooh, okay, we didn't get that. Let me see. Help? I'm pretty sure that means we don't have this installed. So their VM. Oh, hey, my terminal here is over inside of that library, that other project. Okay, let me just keep that open then. Okay, local install other VM. So I'm just gonna pip uninstall Circup, and then pip install -e dot. And then we get the version, but we still don't see the, oops. Still don't see that click.echo. Info. Is it because I didn't do like install or something? Maybe let's try list. There we go. Okay, yeah, apparently I guess help and version don't actually call into main. I guess they have different functions or something. But there we go. Now we got that, so we know we're inside of here. I am actually just going to go back and delete that. Let me catch up on the chat here. Got one, yeah. In the case of PyCam rollover, you don't want to keep hundreds. It sounds like a good feature to have. Rollover after. I think rollover after sounds like a better name. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that name makes it's more descriptive, but I think we should follow CPython. Since this concept exists, I am pretty staunchly on the side of, like, anything that does exist in CPython, if we're creating it, we should use the same name, which I think is generally how Scott tries to steer the ship as well. Loving that. Means I can point Circup to my local code. Yes, and fonts as well, yeah, because Circup can do fonts now. They need to be packaged, however, like all the ones Jeff set up, I don't know the exact, I still have yet to actually look into that packaging. I did a couple of the installs and stuff one day, but I've not looked into the how they're like packaged or whatever, but as long as you package them in the same way they are in that font bundle, then this local install would work on those as well. Which, yeah, I don't know if that's like just the font file or what all is with it, but it by default, it will need whatever all is with it. I mean, a general, do you mean a general file copy or lib only? Thinking about web workflow. So this thing inside Circup right here, I mean inside lib only, because this is still for installing libraries only. That, I mean, like, with one caveat being, I do actually think it would be nice if Circup install had a flag for, like, install in the root, for instance, because if you're doing a frozen library or something, you might want to overtake. Like, that would be a nice to have somewhere down the line in my mind. But for what I'm talking about right now, I just mean installing libraries still, and it will very much default to the lib folder. Now, last night, I don't recall for sure if you were here last night on Deep Dive, I was talking about a more general tool that can just copy and paste or like pull and push files from a CircuitPython device via web workflow. And with that one, which I think is a different tool, I think that one's not Circup. While it does some things that are similar than Circup, and some of the code in Circup is going to be useful inside of this other tool, I think it's another tool. But that other tool is like a generic file copy. Take things from the device, download them, upload things to the device, all from the command line using web workflow. Special package layout is not a problem. Cool. Yeah, if it lets me manage them using tool. Yep. Yeah, it should. I didn't test a font. I've only done this one synth one, but as far as I know, anything you can install from a bundle, you could also install this way, including even, you need even less, because like these ones I'm installing, they're literally just a folder. Your fonts would end up inside a lib, so that might be a little bit awkward. But that's where I guess that other flag, maybe that other flag could be, instead of just defaulting back to root, it could be actually giving you a location. There might be that flag already, honestly, I'm not sure. Way if an argument name doesn't make sense, just say plain Python. Yep. Match the capacity, capability, there'll also be Python. Yeah, that's the key thing, is the documentation, and that makes it so that if you're copy pasting code between the two contexts, your code is like not only just working instead of crashing, but like working and doing the same thing to the extent that it can, which is really nice. Imagining Circup copy and then specify lib. Yeah, for the generic one, Tithe, I mean, it could be Circup copy. In my mind, I think it's a different module, like a different command line tool. I could be persuaded though. I'm not like totally stuck on that, but that's how I'm leaning. My current project is five custom fonts. I'll look into that. Nice. Yeah, it should be the current version is it is USB only right now, but it is pushed into Circup on my fork under local install. But I'm hoping to do web workflow here today. But the first thing I'll do is just make sure it's working. So let's go Circup list of our libraries, which currently do not include any of these ones. So let's go just test it, base load here, Circup install synth /synth. Okay, so the tab completion doesn't work because tab completion is looking for real library names, not local files. Probably we don't need this. Actually, we probably do need this. Actually, I don't know. Even though I wrote the code, I don't know. Looking like we don't need that. Oops. Okay, one thing that's weird is that does not list that. Oh, because this is only out of date. Wait, isn't there one show? I always get those wrong. Circup show. Okay, yeah, that's the full list, which is looking more like it. So I installed what now? Synth something? What did we install? And just install stuff without knowing what it is. Oh my goodness, this is a long list, huh? Wow. Hold on, is this everything in the bundle, or is this only... Oh, okay. There's no thing that lists all the libraries on the device? That's another command that should exist. Unfortunately, we have list. Well, I think list, maybe list should just have an argument. Maybe it does. Like, is there a list all? Well, list is not a dash dash though. No. Okay, I think list should have an argument for listing all of the libraries, but anyway, that's also a thing for a different day. For now, I guess we could just do ls media timc CircuitPy lib, which now does show synth tools. And can I uninstall it? Circup, I uninstall synth tools. Actually, yeah, that worked. I'm a little surprised that worked, but it did. Nice. Okay. So yeah, with this version, we can do install on a local folder and uninstall, and both work. Currently through disk, like USB workflow only. How's it going, Johnny? Good day, my friend. Hey, have you been able to see any of the crazy stuff in the sky? I've heard there's like parts of Europe where it's getting like pink and doing all kinds of crazy stuff from the magnetic storms. List is not properly named command though. Yeah, I would agree with that. It should be like, yeah, it's like list. Yeah, list old or something. It should be, yeah, a little bit different. It should be to make it more clear. I totally thought there was one to list everything, but. Okay, let me see what I actually did in this. This was actually a couple of weeks back when I worked on this. So local install, let me try compare. This is one of my favorite features of PyCharm. It was cloudy yesterday. Hope to see it tonight. Clear skies. Nice. Yeah, that's really cool. Was looking super crazy in some of the photos I've seen. Looking really awesome. All right, so we got a copy file that was added. We have a local path equals none. So install module. This is in the back end. Yeah, this is in the back end. Install module now has a inner variable, whatever, private local variable. Local path is none. If so, let's see here. We used to just have so we have if name, and then we had elif name in mod names. Mod names is the dictionary essentially representing all the libraries in the bundle. So we used to just say if name is in mod names. So like, did they pass us a valid library, right? Valid library name. That's basically what this is asking. And then we change that to say, so in order to know if it's valid, now we need to not only check whether or not it's in the bundle, but if it's not in the bundle, then we also want to check if it exists as a local path. And if it does, then we allow this command to continue on. Whereas before, it would have just checked against the bundle, and if it was not there, it would have failed. Would have gone to the else, wherever that's at. So now we allow it through. We say if path exists name, local path equals name. We say name equals local path dot split dot. Okay, that's interesting. So we say local path equals name. Local path equals name. Then we say name equals split by the separator and take the last one. Okay, so we set local path is the full path, and then name starts out as the full path. Well, it could be a relative path to wherever you're running the command from. That's what it starts out as. Then that gets stored in local path. Then name becomes only the file name without the rest of the path. So if you did do a relative path, this is kind of taking that part into the local path and taking the name only into the name. Then it goes name.replace.py with none and .mpy with none. So I believe what that would do is basically make it work for a single file library. So like Adafruit NTP, if we copied that to here and renamed it to not Adafruit NTP, for instance. We will be able to install that as well by going Circup install, not... Okay, yeah, our tab completion, though. Not Adafruit NTP. Boy, I rely on tab completion a lot, it turns out. Okay, we don't... do we? Yeah, we need the MPY. We need the MPY. Is a directory error. Okay. Apparently that doesn't work. Like... should maybe... If I go inside of here, do I get clickable stack traces? Just remember, we have this terminal. We do. That's convenient. Okay. Okay, so we got called copy file. Target file, location to paste. So if path is directory, so that's what it was the first time. Then it said copy tree target file, and this is source and then destination. So source was target file, destination was path.join, device location, location to paste, file name. Else, we copy file, location to paste. So is it just a matter of there needs to be a slash here? It's saying is a directory error on shutil copy file. Like, we're trying to copy it into the directory. That's not really an error, I guess, but clearly it is. You want copy? This should be the path to the copied file. Needs to be the full file. Is this new? Copy file? This is new, isn't it? Yeah. The new function. So I added it to the base backend. There's just a backend, and then there's a web backend and a disk backend. Right now, I only implemented the disk backend. Okay, so this is all brand new code. So for a second, I was worried, like, if should I not change this because it's getting used elsewhere? And I don't want to break it, but I don't know. That doesn't seem to work because I'm pretty sure it's getting called from somewhere, right? I mean, it has to be getting called because our stack trace runs through it. There we go. Copy file is in backends install, I'm guessing. Install module. All right, I gotta run to the restroom. I'll be right back. An abnormally cold spring. mean, it's going to be an abnormally hot summer. Starting to get in some heat. Cousin lives in Charlotte area of Virginia. Aaron's calling. We'll catch the remainder on YouTube. Yep, take it easy. Bear, I probably missed you, but have a nice day. Or is visible down to Virginia. Wow. Virginia. Yeah, I saw it was like over in the getting pretty far down into the US. I didn't realize that far down. So yeah, we just need to also use I can't control click to the real definition. It's kind of weird. This would also be target file name, right? Yeah. Nice. And uninstall? Oh. Maybe we... Yeah. That's a little weird, but I guess that's just kind of how it's got to be. I mean, it's not how it's got to be, but I guess it's how it makes the most sense to me. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy photo. Yeah, that's just kind of a quirk of targeting a file. I mean, I guess we could try to do some logic of like make the install work even if you omit the .mpy, but then it's ambiguous because there could be neopixel.mpy and a folder called neopixel, so then it would have to be an error or choose between. I think it's better to just be specific with the install, even though that actually makes it so that the uninstall command doesn't match. If anything, it might be nice to go to uninstall and have it, if it doesn't find the file in the way that it's looking first, then also try to check the literal file extension. That would be a nice quality of life thing, but I don't think it's like a make or break thing. And that would get me to the kind of like ultimate goal where I think it should be, which is the fact that install and uninstall, if you pass the same thing to them, they should both work, ideally. And that would get us there. Okay, so folder is working, file is working. Over disk workflow, I will need the web workflow this, because I don't know the API by heart. We are going to target v3 of the API, I think is what we're on. What are we on? Let's check, actually. I think there's like... Oh, we are on version 4. Okay, yeah, we're going to target that. Basically, we're okay with taking the newest stuff, whatever it is. Files REST API. All right, so we, in Circup right here, like earlier I was talking about the generic tool to be able to pull and push. I'm not necessarily looking at that part right now, but I am looking at the being able to upload files with Circup to be able to do the same thing we're doing now with the disk workflow. So in order to make that work, we're going to be doing what? We're going to be sending a put Okay, if we need to make a directory, we're going to be sending a put. First, with the directory name. Not going to be doing move. We're not really going to be doing delete. Hey, put is here twice. Is it? Directory path. FS directory path. File path. But I mean, it's... What's the difference? It just has an extension? I mean, a file doesn't have to have an extension either, though, right? Store the provided content at the file path. FS file path. How does it know the difference? Tries to make a directory at the given path. The request body is ignored. Okay. Okay, if it ends with a slash, it's going to try to create a directory. Okay, and I was not being kind of eagle-eyed enough. The trailing slash there is very important. So if it ends in a slash, it's going to try to create a directory. If it does not end in a slash, it is going to try to upload a file, basically. And I think that's all we need. All right. So I'm just, I'm usually kind of a just dig in kind of a approach to this sort of stuff. So what I'm going to do is just run it and let it fail and then start fixing stuff. So Circup, so this time we want to do web workflow. So I'm going to do host, but I don't know what the host is. I'm going to use the IP. Is there any faster to use the IP than the .local? I don't know actually, but like my gut instinct is that it should be, right? .120 host is 192.168.1.120. Password, don't tell anybody. And then we want to do install, and I'll do synth tools. Sounds like a nice smart feature for making the file a directory. Here we go, synth tools. Okay, so web workflow device not writable. Okay, yeah, problem one is our device is not writable. Which is a pretty big problem for being able to upload files. So let us go to here and go to, I don't know, storage.remount slash. But is it true or false? I don't know. I could look at probably a backup of some other device somewhere, but let's find it here. Storage. Yeah, essentials, actually. We want essentials. Storage. Storage. So this contains a read-only argument. This argument refers to the read-write state of CircuitPython. It does not refer to the read-write state of the computer. So we would like CircuitPython to be not read-only. We would like CircuitPython to be allowed to write. We are going to save that. I'm going to reset. All right. So we called. So now we can just kind of trace through this, figure out where it failed. So we called install module. So where are we at here? Let me close this for a second. We are in install module, which is in just backend. Okay. So no matter which backend we are in, we come through here. Okay. So this was a missing schema? Said inside of create library directory, device library path, session.put. Got a missing schema. I'm guessing library path is wrong or something. Path library path. Because, so this says if local path is none. So that's doing a bundle library. So should this be in here? I mean, I guess no, because these must be relying on the directory already existing, so yeah, okay. What if we just click .echo device path lib path. I mean, my first instinct is one of those is like null or something because it's looking in the dictionary and not finding anything. Nope. Device path is fine. Lib path is synth tools. Should be fine. Invalid URL, synth tools. Okay, so we didn't pass in a URL. So create library directory. I mean, what are these values when we install a module that's a folder? What's a module that's a folder that I don't have already? NTP. No, that's a MPY we saw before. Portal base, that's going to install a bunch of other stuff. Display shapes? Yeah, thank you. Display text. Just do this. Native fruit display. Oh, this doesn't tab complete either, actually. I thought that did. Does not tab complete. No DNS lookup depends on network, I guess. What's this called? What's this cached locally? It's probably not a real difference. I gotcha for the .local thing. Okay, so yeah, totally the lib path when we do it with a library. Oh, hold on. This is creating the lib folder, the literal folder called lib. Not the directory like Adafruit display shapes, for instance, which is what I thought it was doing. I thought it was going to be the library that we're installing's directory. But I guess that wouldn't make sense when we don't have a directory, right? If it's just an MPY file. Okay. So, library. So our library path is wrong. Honestly, we don't even... I mean, I guess we need to do that, I suppose, if it doesn't exist. And where are we? Install module? Does it wipe lib? No, it won't wipe it. It will just do nothing or whatever. There's a return, I'm sure, for it already exists. All of this. So this used to exist here. We changed it to be new module size. All of this stuff is from before, so that's just this. Else, if local path, so if we have a local path, then library path is equal to local path, which is why we're not getting lib anymore. So the crux of this is that we're using library path for two different things, unfortunately. We should probably refactor the code to not do that. Basically, if local path is none, then the library path, the variable, is just lib folder, basically. We probably want to just keep it as that instead of setting it to the thing we're trying to install. And the thing is, in the old version of the code, it never used library path except for right here to create the lib directory if it needed to. So this should be like new module path, because we called it like new module here. And then we should keep library path how it is. Boy, now I'm in a totally different place. That's one of the dangers, I guess, of this, is you get looking at this and you're like, okay, that's what I need to change. But then I want to go back to the file and all of a sudden we're different. Okay, here we go. No, but that's not the same. Oh, because it's the 50 side. Here we go. Okay, here we go, finally. So I want to do this no matter what. We don't want to like double up on this variable name or meaning or whatever. This will just always be the library path, which is like pointing to /lib on the device no matter what, or lib/ whatever. That's now the same either way. Here, we're not going to do this with library path. Instead, we're going to just not do it at all, honestly, right? We're putting this into metadata. We could just use metadata. Like here, we're calling copy file library path, but instead it could just be saying copy file metadata path. We just don't need that. And in fact, that's using metadata path there as well. The new module size gets calculated. So the reason it's calculating the size is to check the free space, which is a nice touch. That's pretty convenient if you're like getting close on space. You don't necessarily want to, jam it full necessarily. So, okay, so then here we will just do metadata path instead of library path. Not implemented. Okay, getting closer. So we made it through here. We called copy file, but copy file inside of backend just raises a not implemented error. And the only place where I had implemented it before was inside of disk backend, which is the USB one. We now need to go into web backend and add an implementation for it. And I will just put it at the bottom because I think that's where I put it in the other one. Actually, I'm going to put it above. No, I'm not. I'm going to put it at the bottom. And I'm going to split this so that I can look at the disk backend implementation side by side. Oh, it's not at the bottom. What do you know? It's like above install module MPY. All right, let's do that. Okay, and then on the disk workflow, it's super easy. It's just what? Target file, location to paste, target file name. We split that out to, so target file, when it comes in, it's going to be a full path. This is getting rid of the rest of the path and just getting the file name at the end of the path. Checking if it's a directory. If it is, we call copy tree. If it's not, we call copy file. And location to paste, that is going to always be lib folder, I think, right? Isn't that going to always be lib folder? Just validate that though, so we don't code it and then realize it's wrong later. So in order to do that, we will need to run this, but we can't do. I'm going to plug in a different device real fast. I want to plug in a different device because on that memento, we set the storage to be writable to CircuitPython. Which means we can't, it's not writable to the host PC, which means Circup disk backend is not going to work. Oh, it's already there. Okay, uninstall. And try again. Okay, yeah, totally. So target file is the name of what we're copying. Lock to paste is lib. And it's not the full path to lib either. It's just lib. So that's like location on the device, like relative to the device's root. Which means we're going to need to add in like device location, basically. Okay, so first thing we want to do is we need to know like we have different, we need to create the directory if it's a directory. So if os.isdir, no, path.isdir, target file. So if that's a directory, then we want to be sending a post to create that directory. Which is basically kind of pretty similar to this, in fact. Session put, so that's going to be, so path. So library path. Do we pass that in? Well, we have, we have location to paste, so I guess we just recreate it. The code where we called that from. Well, and where we created library path, which is here. We need that either way. And we know that we're going to be a web backend, so we can use just this one. Device path, we should have self. I closed it, I guess. Install module self. I mean, device path. I'm pretty sure there's like device location on the backend self, right? Device location. Yeah, I think if we just do. I mean, yeah, I guess it's weird here because we have libdir path, which is also lib, but we're doing location to paste. I guess we should just keep location to paste in anticipation for the ability to specify other places to paste. But for now, it will just hard code to lib. But we still want it to be a variable. That way, when we're ready to change it, we're going to be able to. Okay. So self.device location, and then well, but that's actually, well, right, but we want, yeah, like I just said, we want location to paste. Okay, so we join device location with location to paste. In our case, that's going to come into us hard-coded to lib. But this function copy file is more generic. Ultimately, we'll be able to pass different stuff here. But for now, outside of here, we will be hard-coded. Okay. Close this again, and hopefully I don't regret it, but we'll see. And we should... Yeah. Well, we shouldn't call this library path, though. We should call this path to paste? Paste path? Paste path? But should we have target file? Paste target file. No, yeah, we need target file. We need like paste device path. And it needs to have target file also. So if target file is a directory, the first thing we need to be doing is sending a post to that. Paste. Yeah. Auth. We don't have. Do we not? Just password. Path. Okay, it shouldn't be coming from the URL. I actually thought all the instances of that were gone. I just like arguably we should probably just store auth on self, right? In the web backend, we could just have self.auth and it is this. That way we don't have to recreate it. Is it okay? Yeah, that was from before. All right, timeout self.timeout as our if our status code equals row 9 writable error r.raise for status. Okay, and one bit that will be really important here is we need that last slash. We need to make sure we have that trailing slash. So instead of actually sending the request, I'm just going to print to start with. Paste device path. Let's print that. That's where we're going to be sending the request to. In order to test it, I need to go back to the memento. Why don't we have target file? Target file is synth tools, but target file is in this list of URL join. Is this wrong? Base URL? Allow fragments? You're not allowed to have 3 things? You're not allowed to have 3 things. Yeah. Okay, fine. How come path.join can take multiple stuff, but URL join can't? What's up with that? Also, now lib is gone. Why is lib gone? Parse? What is this from? urlib.parse. Hey, what does this... Why? urllib.parse url join. Is that a string? Oh, why? Join a base URL and possibly relative URL to form an absolute interpretation of the latter. I don't understand why that just throws away part of your URL. That seems like it really severely limits the usefulness of that function. So I guess you would need to put them together in here. Like, if you wanted that, you would have to say... Okay. Alright, well, at least we don't have to double them up, because that definitely... I didn't like the looks of that. /.join. Any reason you're not calling create library directory because, hold on, let me finish reading the question. Any reason you're not calling create library directory in copy file rather than duplicating the function, or did I miss the difference? Yeah, create library directory only creates the lib folder specifically, the literal lib folder on the device. That's the only one that it's intended to create. Even though we are creating a folder that we're putting a library that we are installing into, we are not creating the lib folder, which is what that other create library directory is for. Arguably, it should be lib, or it should, I don't know, maybe there'd be a way to make it more distinct. Or maybe there should be a generic create directory, and then it should just pass lib when it needs to do lib, and it should pass whatever else when it wants to do something else, but that could be a thing too. Function took a lib as an argument. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Well, device path. Crap. Okay, we need half of this now, I guess. We need, like... Yeah, short answer is no, I guess, just because I didn't think about it, basically. Also don't know how it's used. That's not... Honestly, it's a bit silly with the web workflow that device path gets passed in and lib path gets passed in, but lib path contains device path. But maybe that's a thing for another day. So basically, it doesn't really matter what we give to device location. And we don't need half of that. We do need the full thing. We need device path, paste device path, just like I set up before. But, well, yeah, I mean, part of it is I wasn't actually doing it just yet. We need the trailing slash still, I think, right? I think we won't have the trailing slash. Yeah. We need a trailing slash. Maybe we should just be using these, though. I wish I didn't click away from that. Okay. So, okay, if it's a directory, then we will call this, but we also need to add one more slash at the end of this, which is probably not necessarily the right way. I don't know, but I'm gonna do it that way. So that's going to create the library directory, and then after we did that, we would self dot install dir http. Oh, this one takes location already. Look at that. Okay. But it does default to lib, which is what we want. So that would be source is the directory, which is going to be target file, I believe. Else, if that's a file rather than a directory, inside the two functions just look the same. Yep, they totally were, turns out. Let's see, playing with paths is like time functions. Times are still worse than paths. Times are still worse than paths in my head. There are 100 different ways, yeah. They are, I won't say paths are fun, though. I will give you paths also are lame, but time is worse. Yeah. Well, not so much emulating CPython in this instance. It's just that we're doing a URL path here instead of a file path, which URL paths are always a /. The file paths is where it gets wonky on you, because it's like on Unix it's a /, but on Windows it's a \, which like then sometimes needs to be escaped, which adds another extra layer of weirdness, but that's fine. So in the case that it's a file, we don't have to create any directories. We just need to install file, which should just be target file, I think. Method not allowed. Not allowed? .405. Not. Is it because it exists already? So this is a directory put, which is up here. Doesn't list 405. Nice. Not in order either. 404 is 409. Maybe they're not meant to be in order. All right, well, we don't get to know what 405 is. Let me, I guess, just go to the source. I gotta run to the restroom again, though. I'll be back. Method not allowed, I guess, is pretty self-explanatory, but I mean, at the same time, like we sent a put request, and put requests are allowed, so... Oh, /fs. We need /fs. Yeah, so device location will give us just the IP / we need an fs after that. Glows back on here. And where should that should be in I almost just want to not use URL join. I almost want to just use /.join. Is there any reason not to do that? So technically this is the paste device. It's really a URL, not a path. It's really the paste device URL, because it is going to include fs, which is not part of the path. That's only part of the URL for the web workflow API. Yeah, buddy, look at that. All right. Let me go and delete that. Well, we could uninstall it, right? Nice. And then we can... What's the API? I should get used to the... I want to get a little more familiar with this. What's the API for listing files? A directory JSON representation. So if we send a GET request to the device and then like fs curl well, but we need all the auth. Yeah. Okay. That's another thing I would like the general copy paste thing to be able to do is listing. It'd be nice if there's a command line tool to say list all the files in, you know, lib on my device or whatever directory on my device, which you can do with curl, but you would need to put your, you would need a base64, get your password and do a bunch of stuff. I could do it inside the Circup code, I guess, because this session, like this is basically doing it, but that's right. I'll just look in here. So /fs/lib/ I thought would have been the JSON, but instead it's empty, or 404. /fs /directory path. Oh. Okay. But why did lib not work? Hashtag? Does this talk about the hashtag? What is up with the hashtag? This is not mentioned anywhere on this page. This is latest. Sorry, it might be kind of loud for a minute. There is a lawn mowing occurring outside. Add a null string to the end of the join to get the trailing slash. I don't think we want to, because I don't think we need it. We don't, it won't need a slash until we get into here. But we're still going to use this to build up. Actually, no, we're not. We're already doing all the rest of that. Okay, yeah, this is just not the paste device URL. This is the create directory URL, and it only gets used inside of here. Yeah, I don't know. If I'm honest, the way it reads this way is more clear in my mind what's going to happen. I know they both do the same thing, and ultimately if you're reading this one, you can figure that out as well. But it feels more kind of deliberate the other way, I guess. We don't really need that anymore even, do we? Yeah, we don't even really need that. That was really just debugging. I will leave it this way though, because we're already doing the join, and it's kind of weird to do it two different ways as well, so the inconsistency is also not the best. Okay. This is not going to work. Yeah, we should document this. I don't know this is not mentioned anywhere on this page, but somehow gets used by the front end. And so if I just, whoops, that's not what I wanted. If I just, like, god dang it, I just pushed the same button again. But I can't just, like, modify the headers here very easily, can I? I can't just really, like, modify the headers very easily. Whoa, what is that? Wait, is that from me doing that before? That sensor request here, but this is from JSON, I guess. This is from JavaScript. Okay, this is with application JSON. Fair enough, okay. That's actually the response I was looking for, truthfully. Can't scroll through this. Is it in order? No, NeoPixel is in the middle. Okay. Uninstall and install both work with directory. Let's make sure it works with an MPY file. Jump the gun a little bit. It's not actually done. Still need to delete a couple more of those prints. Yep, this is, let's go not, well, do we have that one on there? Let's make sure we don't have that one on there. Oh, we do, yeah. Oh wait, no, that's a different not thing. Okay, doesn't look like it. do need a .mpy because that's targeting a local instance, a local file. Okay. There we go. And then, just like we saw before, if we want to uninstall, currently at least, we actually need to take that back off. Nice. And just make sure it worked. Yep. Okay. We need to get rid of that extra print. This one. Were there any others that I added? That is all gone. Let me run pre-commit because it seems like a bunch of these changes are code format. I probably just use Control-Alt-L, which in PyCharm is like a code format thing. But the truth is we want whatever black is going to do, not whatever my PyCharm thing is going to do. I could probably configure my PyCharm thing to use black, but I haven't ever done it. Yeah, see, a bunch of those changes are gone now. Means we need to go back and start looking again. There's still this, which is weird. Oh, no, that's just from me pasting this here, okay. And then, so we have the web workflow implementation, and then we have the device workflow implementation. We do have another print here. I used one print and the other one says click.echoes. Oh, and it looks like black has split that up, which is what most of this change is. Okay. Well, and the new line? Is that part of black too? It's probably going to be mad that this doesn't have a comment? Or is it fine because it's an overridden function and the parent has one? Pointless string statement. Okay. I'm not sure how we ended up like that. Sorry. Fortunately, the loud sound is also in the direction that I am in, which means the microphone's really good at picking it up. I wonder if this got longer? Why is this long? Why is this too long now, but wasn't before? All right, we passed pilot and black. I have a lot of stuff that's not checked in, which fails reuse, but shouldn't cause any trouble since it's not checked in. Look at this. That's random. Oh, okay. Wait, I didn't change this other than that, so why was that suddenly failing? That's weird. I wonder if the number changed or something? That's weird. Because that's just like totally unrelated. Unless if it's counting that string, but it failed both? I don't know. All right, will this pass? And is it ready for a PR? Maybe... Where does the help come from? Install a named modules. It's from here. Install a named modules onto the device. Multiple modules can be installed at once by providing more than one module name, each separated by a space. Modules can be from a bundle or local file paths. Does that make us pass? Does that make us fail pre-commit? Nope. Install help. Comment. Update. It's kind of confusing because there's also an update command, but that's all right. Did it pass? Of course, now it's going to restart again. Yeah, did pass. Nice. All right, so as long as this new one passes, then I will make a PR from this, I'm pretty sure. We'll at least go to the make a PR page and see what it says the diff is and see if anything jumps out to me as not ready for a PR yet. But off the top of my head, I'm thinking that it is. Can't think of anything right now. If anybody watching can think of any reason that it's not ready for submitting a PR, feel free to mention. I think we're good to go though, right? Like there's still some nice to haves. Like ultimately it'd be nice to have ability to specify the location for both local path installs and bundle installs, honestly. But I think that's like a separate deal. The generic file copy thing also will be nice, but I see that as a separate tool as well, unless there is more desire from the group to put it into Circup specifically. Yeah, for sure. Just finished. I know Toddbot was wanting to use this as well. So this will be nice because it will also make it so like any kind of CircuitPython library that's in GitHub, you could also just do like a git clone or even a wget, you know, download, unzip, and then Circup install from it. So it kind of broadens the world of things we could target. You know, it might be interesting if we could ultimately target like https://github.com/whatever. You could give it a GitHub repo and it would know to go and pull it from the repo. That might be kind of interesting as well. Where's my actions thing? Why don't I have a green thing? Am I not on that branch? On the right branch. Here we go. Yeah, it's green. Nice. All right, let's take a quick scroll through here, make sure there's not anything too absurd. So copy file, new implementation in backend, the base class, which is just not implemented. Inside install module, we now have a bunch of new logic for handling the local path modules. We swap that to be slightly more generic since now our size could be from a local file and not from the bundle, right? So bundle, calling it bundle.size would be misleading at that point. If pi ext, is that gone? Oh, okay, there it is. It's inside here. Okay, so we used to just say if pi ext. Now we have one more check outside for if local path. So if it's a traditional Circup install from a bundle, do this stuff, which is actually the same as before. If pi ext, else, the way that GitHub has merged this together is a little bit weird with the splicing, but it's else this, which is actually the same as it used to be. Then we've got our else if it was a local path, then the new bit of code is actually copy file on the local path to the lib folder, which is hard-coded there, but could ultimately change. Installed is, that part's not new, it just prints out copy file. So this is the implementation inside of web workflow because it's using the HTTP ones of these. And then this is the implementation inside of disk. Did I say web workflow? I meant web backend, which hooks up to the web workflow. But this is the one in disk backend. We had to add this because randomly Pylon started failing. Oh, here we go. Okay, I did have a change in here. Okay, I wasn't looking at the full set of changes, I guess. I was only looking at my most recent commits. Okay, so I added an if else in here. Yeah, I added an if else in here that, so it used to say, if you put in an invalid name, it used to say, warning, I don't know, that's not a library. I don't know what to install. I don't know what you're looking for. It still does that if it can't find it, but it checks before it fails. It checks if it's a local file. That's how it knows that it's going to be a local file. Well, that's how it stops from just giving you an error if it's a local file instead of a valid library name from a bundle. Okay, so we have a try catch with a key error, but all of this is actually just the same. It's just inside now. Same here. This is just indented. Yeah, so this whole block is actually, it just got indented to a try catch with a key error. Don't check local file for further dependencies. Okay. Yeah. You know, eventually maybe we could have that happen too, but right now it doesn't chain through. So like that local file, if that depends on another library, this is not going to find it and install it. You will need to install those separately. Because like local file, like it wouldn't know where to find it, right? Like assuming it's another local file, it wouldn't know where to find it from. It might be nice if it would find the ones that are in the bundle though. Yeah, I don't know. and modules. Okay, yeah, all of that seems fine. Sorry, I knew it was a couple weeks back when I did the first half of this. I want to make sure I didn't leave anything weird in there, like extra prints or debugging or anything. Local, so this is going to be a local path, support local path, install. Local type character ath? No. All right. I think that's going to be talked about, right? Yeah. All right, there we are. Anybody is interested and willing, feel free to leave a comment if you try it out on the PR here. I was interested to have folks who give it a try. I am gonna head out for now. Thanks for watching. Hope everyone has a good rest of your day and a good weekend. And take it easy. I'll be, I should be back, I think, at the normal time next week. And I don't believe I'm on Deep Dive for Friday, but I haven't actually talked to Scott about it, so I don't know for sure. So until then, so long.